Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay. Have you read about the revaluation aspect of PPE?
Yes, yes.
Hmm?
Yes, sir.
So where revaluation is parked, revaluation gain is parked in which particular segment of the P&L?
I have not read, but
Okay, no issues,
yeah,
Harsh. No issues. So basically, it is mentioned in the standards and the framework for presentation that
Rishu, is someone waiting in the lobby?
no,
Is there option?
no,
Acha,
everyone must be there.
acha, okay. Okay.
That's the benefit of this software. Let
Hmm.
yeah, recording is happening now. So Harsh, as you mentioned, like why this is shown in OCR. So it is being written in the accounting literature, and if you want to get into the depth of it, you can basically refer those literature. The
Rishu, your voice is again becoming like the previous one, I
now,
think so.
now, now, now.
Now it is clear.
Okay. Yeah. So I was telling to Harsh that he was asking why the return on plan asset is parked in OCI. Why not in the P&L? So I am just basically one particular point I was highlighting to him that the revaluation gain in case of PPE is also parked in OCI. So the rationale of it, go to guidance note, you'll get from there. Not even in guidance note, try to look on, try to just Google it out. You'll definitely get the rationale. Okay, as to why this is parked in OCI.
okay,
This is
sir.
a rationale basically, and
दिस
that
इज
is
अ वेरी
written.
गुड क्वेश्चन मीन्स ऋषु एक बार ऐसा हुआ था
Mhm.
कि आई थिंक सो ओसीआई को हम लोग बैलेंस शीट में मतलब अलग से दिखाते हैं क्या
वो
बैलेंस शीट में
सोकी में जाता है स्टेटमेंट ऑफ चेंजेस इन इक्विटी का सेगमेंट में.
हाँ हाँ हाँ
दैट इज वेयर इट
सो
इज पार्ट.
एक एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ था कि कंपनी का जो नेटवर्थ था ना वो नेगेटिव था बेसिकली ठीक है और उस कंपनी का बहुत लीज होल्ड लैंड था मतलब कि काफी मतलब कॉफी का लैंड था सपोजिटली तो उसने अपने कॉफी के लैंड को सपोजिटली 4,000 करोड़ वैल्यूएशन किया था फेयर वैल्यू में जब एएस आया था सो एक्चुअल में उसके बुक्स में उसका नेटवर्थ पॉजिटिव दिख रहा है बट अगर वो फेयर वैल्यू को अगर तुम हटा दो तो उसका वैल्यूएशन एक्चुअली जो है वो नेगेटिव है उसका नेटवर्थ ऑलरेडी नेगेटिव है कोई बैंक उसको पैसा मतलब बोर्डिंग्स देने में प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी तो ऑब्वियस सा सो इशू आएगा तो मतलब ओसीआई एक तो क्लासिफिकेशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी रखा गया कि जो फेयर वैल्यू में आप एडजस्टमेंट करते हो उसको अलग से देखो बिकॉज दैट इज नॉट अ रियल टर्म्स में गेन मतलब
हाँ, actually, that is not something which has come out of your efforts. Okay, that is why it is. If you'll park those numbers in your P&L, obviously there will be huge fluctuation. Harsh. So the rationale is we are helping you out because I was thinking you to like make you read it out to why what's the rationale. So why such thing happens because this revaluation or the change in the valuation of any asset is very volatile in nature. Okay, so say for example, it might happen the corpus or the basically the instrument where you have put your money might get shoot up by 110% in the current year. Okay, your PNL will get boosted up very huge amount. Okay, whereas if there's a huge decline in the next year, obviously there'll be huge decline in your PNL number. That is your loss. So there will be too much of volatility in your PNL. To avoid such volatility, okay, to avoid such volatility, to make sure that the financials looks like the way it should, because these gains which are coming is not out of the effort of yours. This is something basically dependent on so many factors. Accordingly, they don't want to show this in your PNL. Rather, they want to keep it in OCI because that is something totally altogether different. So whenever someone will be assessing your financial performance, they'll be looking onto the PNL aspect only because that is something where you have the control, where you have put your efforts into. But OCI is something where you have not put your basically efforts into that. Yeah, it might happen. You might say that we have invested into certain instrument basis our knowledge and all, obviously, but that's a risky thing, and that will make your PNL very volatile. To avoid such volatility, that is why the this particular amount is parked into OCI. Okay, Harsh, I believe now it's clear to you
Yes, sir. Yes,
the
sir.
rationale of it. So, guys, all these stuff is written anywhere in the guidance note or somewhere. There's a rationale for everything. So there is a very good rationale. Obviously, you'll agree to me. OCI कहाँ जाता है? OCI SOKI में जाता है. Statement of changes in equity. There it is parked. So basically, to avoid such volatility, those that is why this particular thing has happened. So there are huge literature written on every aspect as to how why this particular number is disclosed over there or that. So there's a huge rationale, there's a huge debate which happens, then only things are finalized. Okay, so it's good, you guys can read it out and you guys can basically make yourself more knowledgeable on those aspects. Okay, Harsh? But definitely it was a good question. Yeah. Now moving further, Kushi was asking where it is shown the SOKI. Okay, Kushi, will I'll show it to you at the end of the session in HUL's financial. Okay, just park that question for a while. Now, guys, amount to be recognized in the balance sheet. Okay, so we have covered. I'm coming on this. This was not required. Yeah. Now, this is the balance sheet reconciliation. We have covered the balance sheet number. We have covered the OCI number. We have covered the P&L number. All aspects are covered. There's no other aspect left out. Okay. Now they are talking about the balance sheet reconciliation. That is your movement. Okay. They are saying the opening liability was this. The current year amount which you have recognized in the P&L is this. Amount recognized in the OCI is this. And your employer's contribution for the current period is this. So your net liability ultimately is coming out to be this much. Okay, so this is how they have shown the amount over here. Okay, so this is basically the opening net. I don't think it is net liability. Something is wrong over here. Was this much the net liability previous? Give me a second. It was the net liability. Oh yeah, it was the net liability, correct. So you can see like last year there was huge net liability. Okay, and that surplus, that deficit, too much of deficit has been rectified over here. They have contributed huge amount over here comparative to previous year. That is why the situation has basically changed a lot. Last year you were having so much of deficit. Your liability was net liability was this much. Hardly now it is like 44 lakhs 90,000. Last year it was 4 crore 89 lakhs. So you have contributed a lot in current year. Employers' contribution, which we are seeing over here, that is in the current year they have contributed a lot. That is why their net liability has reduced. So this is the reconciliation. All these elements are coming from those two tables. So if you are done with those two tables, all done. There's nothing to be done. Okay. Moving further, guys. Category of assets. As Harsh was asking, like, will there be any detail available to the beneficiaries where they have parked their funds and what all assets they can park? So if you see, the parking of funds are not in non-risky avenues. If you see, so they are asking, they are saying government of India assets, state government securities, special deposit schemes. These are some government-run initiatives. Debt instruments again, because why debt instrument is they have put money into over here, like, is it risk free?
No, there is a fixed interest.
Mm-hmm. And what
Fixed
about the
interest
risk?
rate. Risk because preference come first for the debt instrument is repayment of debt instrument basically in event of any liquidation.
Mm-hmm. So basically, you will be getting the money back. Okay, first thing, your capital will come back to you over and above the interest component. And if company goes, if worst to worst scenario comes, obviously you will be having benefit or leverage over the equity shareholders. That is why it is parked under the non-risk assets. Though nowadays we have seen with the default of very reputed companies like ILFS and all, where they have defaulted a lot in the debt instruments. So yeah, there's a risk, but lesser risk. And for sure, whenever they are putting their money into debt instruments, also they must be putting into their money into the government PSU's debt instruments or the companies which are having good reputes. Okay, the basically AAA rated, AA rated, all those debentures they must be putting money into. Okay. Next is corporate bonds. Again, less risky comparative to other instruments. Cash and cash equivalent is something where they have retained certain amount of money. They have not invested whole of the money. Obviously, no one, like, at least certain amount of money is kept. Though this company has not kept, so it might happen that whenever any liability will come, they'll encash from the insurance funds. So insurance funds again is a very secure thing. So this is something basically where they are. This must be related to some funds, the funds which are flowing to the insurance companies, and also obviously they basically gets the riskless investment avenues in terms of this. Asset-backed securities is something where assets are backed by certain assets. Say for example, I'm not pretty sure how many of you are aware of mortgage-backed securities, MBS, or such instruments. Basically, what happens? Say for example, nowadays what's happening is a pool is created they'll buy some real estate properties, okay, just like REITs and all. So they'll buy some real estate properties, and those real estate properties basically will be rented out, or basically rented out. And those that to buy that those real estate money, the fund reaches out to various people, okay, investors like us, or investors like big fund houses like BlackRock or so. So they reach out to them, they ask for the money, they look for the investment avenues, they look for the real estate properties. Then what they do is they basically give those properties on rent, they earn rent from there, they earn capital appreciation from those properties, and those capital appreciation and rent are being paid back to the basically this BlackRock and all those investors. But the point is why it is known as asset-backed securities. The reason is, when the investor put their money into, they don't get the right into the property. Okay, what they get is a simple document saying that in the total pool of assets, all the properties which we are having, all 10, 20 properties which we are having in our pool, you have 10% right in all those properties. Okay, but you don't get specific document as to ye floor BlackRock ka, this floor relates to Goldman Sachs, this floor relates to any JP Morgan. This is not the case. So they give 10% of the total pool asset relates to you. There is no specific writing that a floor, particular floor or a particular segment of the property is named in, is basically transferred to you. That is why what's happening, they issue the securities which are being backed by what? Real estate properties. That is why the word asset-backed securities is used. There is some asset in having in the back, which basically act as a backing for securities which are being issued to the investors. Okay, so this is the concept of it. Structured debt, I'm not pretty sure what's the meaning of it. I'll have to Google it out. You guys can also. So, mm, structured debt, I won't comment until unless I'm not 100% sure. Sorry for this. Others, any other instruments which does not fall under this category, they have parked under this. So this is how they park their money into different criteria, different investment avenues. In this case, we have seen insurance funds is something where they have parked their money into. Okay, guys. So these disclosures are required. Now, anyone having any doubt on this? This is something very like you should read it out as to what government securities is, what rate of interest is going on, how risky are these state government securities, municipality securities. So all these things you must read it out. Okay, as I was not able to comment on structured debt, so Google it out after this session and look for those. What exactly does it mean? Okay, so yeah, anyone having any doubt on this? Though I'm not pretty sure that I'll be able to answer, but yeah. Okay, guys. So I believe there's no doubt. Then this is other details as we mean, like this has nothing to do with your financial numbers. But what happens is they give you some details as to what is the strength of the employees, like current year, previous year, per month salary for the members in the services. Like if we have to compute the salary for all these 2690 employees, this is the salary amount which they are getting. Weighted average duration of the projected benefit obligation. That is, they have computed 8 years of weighted average benefit obligation. Basically वो मान के चल रहे हैं कि अभी 8 साल तक का service on an average employees have worked for us for the 8 years. Okay, average if we'll see, so most of the employees have worked for 8 years. That is what they have mentioned, and basis which they have computed the liability. Obviously your leave encashment, your not leave encashment, sorry, your gratuity will be dependent upon the number of years of service. So they have assumed that the weighted average duration of the service is as on date is 8 years. So for totality of the amount, they must have computed the computation basis the 8 years service period. Expected average future service is 16 years. They are assuming that the employees which are working with us, they'll be continuing for 16 years more on an average. Okay, this is on an average. So this must be on account of the turnover ratios, the past trends, basis which Actuarial has come out with this number, that he's assuming that if someone has worked over there for next 16 years, he'll work. It might happen that employee may end up working there up till their retirement, but on an average, if you'll talk, the actuary is saying 16 years is something I'm expecting that most of the people will work on an average. Okay. So now what he's saying, projected benefit obligation total. So the total projected benefit is this one, and projected benefit obligation due but not paid. There's no amount. So every whatever amount was due, they have paid it out. Okay. Expected contribution in the next year. What they are expecting, like how much amount they'll be contributing the plan asset, the company. This is what their expectation is. It might happen the company won't contribute to it, because this is expected. This is nowhere mentioned that it is mandated. Okay, so this is what they have given a synopsis of the whole scenario. Okay, guys, I don't think there is any thing to discuss over here. If you guys have
वेटेड एवरेज ड्यूरेशन वाला बताना, इसका मीनिंग क्या है?
कौन सा
वेटेड एवरेज ड्यूरेशन ऑफ द प्रोजेक्टेड बेनिफिट ऑब्लिगेशन.
weighted average duration of the projected benefit obligation is, they are saying, if we have computed the amount which we have computed, the liability which we have computed is on the basis of 8 years of service which we have taken on an average. Okay, they are saying average, if you'll see the average number, it will come out to be 8 years. So what happens, एक employee है, उसका salary लिया, उसका 15/26 किया, because your gratuity is computed like that, multiplied by 8 years किया. That is what it is saying. Okay, so they have considered the 8 years average as a service period. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Mhm. So, okay. Moving further, then net interest cost for the next year, basis the assumption he is quoting over here. This has nothing to do. This is just mere disclosure, nothing else. So what he has done is this: the rate which he has assumed, he must be.
ऋषु वो डाउट एक है यार,
कौन सा?
खुशी का डाउट ये है कि उसका क्लाइंट जो है वो मतलब प्रोविजन का लास्ट ईयर और इस साल का जो डिफरेंस होता है वो खाली बुक कर देता है,
हाँ, तो
बाकी इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट
वो अकाउंटिंग
Current-
स्टैंडर्ड फॉलो, अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड AS 15 था आई बिलीव. कौन सा था एम्प्लॉय बेनिफिट्स का? आई एम नॉट
इंडेस है क्या?
नहीं, वो इंडेस नहीं
हाँ
होगा.
मतलब वही
वो AS पे
इंडेस
होगा.
वाले कंपनीज भी छोटे मोटे कंपनीज ऐसे ही करके चला देते हैं, वो लोग को जिसको नहीं आता जो
नहीं नहीं, if they are into Indes, obviously their actuarial will be giving report like this. But if the company is reporting under AS, then definitely opening minus closing minus opening is the amount which they have recognized. They have to recognize in the P&L. So Khushi, first you have to see whether your client is reporting under Indes or AS, the old accounting gap basically. Indes hai. If it is Indes and they are doing like this, then they are doing it
नहीं,
wrong.
ऐसे ऐसे कुछ होता है ऋषु, मतलब बहुत छोटे, मतलब कि नॉर्मल भाई 300 करोड़ का कंपनी भी लिस्टेड हो जाता है, 100 करोड़ का कंपनी भी लिस्टेड हो जाता है, इंडेस एप्लीकेबल हो जाता है.
But I won't agree to this, that someone having 100 crores of turnover won't be disclosing basically this as per the required standards, because ultimately
नो
you
नो,
have to report it.
मतलब नहीं, वो डिस्क्लोज इसलिए नहीं कर रहा है क्योंकि उसको ऑडिटर बता रहा नहीं है, वो ऑडिटर जो बोलेगा वो कर देगा, मतलब कि
Then
उसको
you are at
आइडिया नहीं
default also.
है भाई.
Then they are also at default, na? So Khushi, you have to ask your
हाँ,
client
वो
as
तो
to why you are
ये
doing
पता है.
this. As per the standard, this is required, but why you are doing like this? You have to question them. Let's share their rationale if they say there is some exemption or anything. But to the best of my knowledge, there is no exemption altogether.
वो ओसीआई बुक करते हैं, वो बोल रही है ओसीआई बुक कर देते हैं.
हाँ, तो फिर ठीक तो है.
हाँ,
That's fine.
इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट एंड इनकम वगैरह नहीं दिखाते. अच्छा, वो लोग फाइनेंस कॉस्ट वाला नहीं क्लासिफिकेशन करते हैं.
Okay. So basically, in some of the companies, they are following the practice. Whatever amount, current service cost, interest cost, they are taking it under employee benefit expenses instead of splitting it in between employee benefit and financing cost. So that is the thing. So that is something it's acceptable, but still you can question that. Okay, read out the guidance note. What exactly is mentioned in the guidance note? Show them. Look, in this guidance note, it is mentioned like this. Correct treatment kya hai sir? Financing cost needs to be shown separately. Okay, that is the correct treatment. So read it out first. Read it in this schedule 3 guidance note. Okay, take it to your client. Show them. Look, sir, whatever you are doing is not right. This is what the framework asks, and you are doing it like this. Okay, or it might happen there are this is something which is totally judgmental thing. It might happen in the guidance note also. It is not clear. So read it out. But mostly what happens, good reputed companies are classifying the financing cost under financing cost, the financial this interest cost thing, and the current service cost is something they are parking into employee benefit expenses. That is how they are doing. NF contribution कहाँ पे दिखता है? NF is NNF. Aman, if you could make sense out of Khushi's question, please let me know. Or Khushi, you can retype it.
शॉर्टकट शॉर्ट फॉर्मूलाज आई डोंट नो वो क्या बोलती है दो वर्ड्स में.
I don't know. contribution कहाँ दिखेगा contribution? Where you will see? You won't see that in the financials. You will be seeing that in the notes to accounts only. Financials, you will be having net
अच्छा रेशो आई
numbers.
थिंक सो मतलब कि आई थिंक सो अभी फाइनेंशियल तो दिखाएंगे ना रेशो,
हाँ हाँ
मतलब उसमें कहाँ कहाँ कौन सा कंपोनेंट आता है अब दिखा देते हैं मतलब
okay
आई थिंक
okay
सो।
okay. So this is nothing. Next year interest cost they have assumed. Okay, this is totally based on the assumption. Expenses recognized in the P&L next year. So this is nothing but in the assumptions only, basis which they have written over here. Now the maturity benefit analysis of the benefits paid. So they what they have computed, ये आपका जो liability total दिख रहा है ना, out of that total liability in the next year they are expecting that this much amount will be payable because some employees will leave and obviously you'll have to pay. So this much will be the outflow which they are expecting out of their experience, basis the turnout ratios which they have analyzed basis the past data of your entity. The second year they are expecting your outflow would be this, third year would be this. So this is something which they have done on the basis of insights which they have inferred from your previous year data. So this is something which they have mentioned. This is the whole maturity benefit analysis. Like this is how your total outflow will go. Okay, next year itna, after next year, next to next year itna, next to next year itna. So say for example, obviously if there's a company which is newly formed and having new or young employees having age of say 20 years, 30 years, obviously for next in 2 years hardly there will be any payment if company is very much repeated and employees don't leave the company. Obviously once the cycle of that 60 years will start hitting, ultimately what will happen in a single go you will be seeing massive payment outgoing. Okay, because what will happen, the whole of population of the company is getting older and older, and almost at the same time, say for example out of the 50 employees, 10 employees are expected to cross 60 years of age in 2025 and 10 in 2026 because the employees which you have hired were among the same age group. So you have to maintain the diversity also to avoid such scenarios. Okay, so this is how they have computed this. So in case I just gave you an hypothetical example. If I have started a very fresh company having very young professionals with me, obviously, and I'm expecting that they won't leave. So in maturity analysis, this will be 0, 0, 0 for next 5 years, definitely, because I know for next 5 years no is gonna leave. So definitely this will come out to be 0. But that's totally hypothetical. I'm telling you. Okay. Uh, this something went wrong over here. So guys, this is sensitivity analysis. Anyone can help me in making you understand what does this mean, like sensitivity analysis, sensitivity analysis. What exactly comes to your mind when I say this word?
कि बस डेटा का 1 से 2% अगर चेंज होता है तो कितना इम्पैक्ट आएगा?
When you say data, is it something that you will tweak only one parameter once in at one single point of time, or you will tweak multiple parameters?
1 parameter at a time.
Okay, so as Ishant mentioned, guys, sensitivity analysis is something when you tweak only one parameter, and when you tweak multiple parameter, that is scenario analysis. There's a difference. Scenario analysis.
रेशो वॉइस स्लो हो रहा है,
Okay, now
नॉट सो
okay. So what I was telling is when you are tweaking only one parameter, it is known as sensitivity analysis. Whereas if you are tweaking multiple parameters at single point of time, then it is known as scenario analysis. So these two terms you have to keep in mind when someone says we are doing scenario analysis. That definitely means that they are tweaking some multiple parameters instead of one single parameter. But when someone says we are doing sensitivity analysis, that means at one single point of time they are tweaking just one parameter, which we can see over here. Okay, so sensitivity analysis, if you see the projected benefit obligation, they are saying this was your projected benefit obligation which we have computed. Now what will happen if you change the discounting rate, that is you increase your discounting rate by 1%? Guys, can you tell me if I increase the discounting rate, what will be the impact? Hello guys, this is a very basic question and we already discussed this in the previous session and you guys rightly answered. So why you guys are not able to answer this right now?
लाइबिलिटी कम होगी
लाइबिलिटी कम होगी, क्यों कम होगी?
क्योंकि उस कम रेट से पुल करेंगे उसको,
करेक्ट,
तो मतलब सॉरी
ज्यादा रेट से पुल करेंगे कम रेट से.
हाँ उल्टा हाँ.
Okay, so when you will be pulling with higher rate, obviously your denominator will be higher. So if you are dividing anything and dividing it by a higher denominator, obviously your liability or the net amount, the present value will be coming on the lower side. Guys, are you getting my point? Similarly, they are saying if you will tweak this by 1%, okay, below, your liability will get increased by this much. Okay, anyone having any doubt as to how these two amounts are differing? We are increasing 1% above, we are decreasing 1% below. Why there is a variation? 1% is 1%, right? Hello? Plus 1 and minus 1. Yes, that is what I'm saying. Plus 1 and minus 1. If I'm adding 1 and I'm lowering it by 1, why the amount is different? Shouldn't it be the same? It should be just, in one case it should be negative, in one case it should be positive. Why there's a difference in the amount? Guys, please apply your mind. Polling rate different hoga, that's why you are saying. Kushi, yeah, basically half of it you have mentioned, but the rationale of not the same amount, what's the rationale of it? Leave this example, but say for example, if I'm saying I'm giving you a sale number and I'm saying my sale will increase, 1 lakh is the sale, and I'm expecting 1% increase in the sale and 1% decline in the sale. Will those amount will get differ? That 1%.
डिफर करेंगे
Karenge? Ishan, just calculate it. Just calculate it once. Take 1 lakh rupees as the number. Increase it by one. I'm saying there could be two sensitivity analysis I'm doing. Plus 1%, minus 1%. Now tell me what will be the sale in minus 1% and what will be the sale in plus 1%. Tell me.
प्लस 1% में तो 1,01,000
And minus 1% में?
1 lakh का 99,000
तो गैप तो सिर्फ 1,000 का आया, सेम आया. यहाँ क्यों डिफर आ रहा है?
सर हम रेट्स में +1% कर रहे हैं ना कि टोटल अमाउंट पे.
Exactly. So basically, I was just playing with you guys. So basically, what's happening? The instance which I gave to Ishan, I was applying that 1% plus minus on one single amount. Okay. That is, if had it been the case that I was doing this plus minus 1% on this amount, obviously on the upper side and the lower side amount will be same, only the signs will change. Whereas when I am doing sensitivity analysis over here, what I am doing is I am not applying this percentage on this. Rather, I am increasing my discounting factor. That is why there's a gap. Okay. That is why there's a gap. Okay, and most of you must have studied this duration in bond debentures. How many of you studied? How many of you are in finals and you have studied SFM?
Sir, I just started.
Okay. Anyone who has studied or completed the whole of SFM or just debentures part? Tell me.
Sir, I have played it, but I haven't realized it.
No issues, Harsh. So, if you guys have studied debentures, obviously you must have studied about duration thing.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate what does it mean? Guys, what does duration mean?
I don't know the exact meaning, but is it that we discount all the years cash flows to one single point?
Period in which the bond will mature. That is one thing. So basically, there's a concept of macular duration or effective duration. I'm just not able to recall the whole of it. But that concept says due to that arc which is being created, because what happens when you increase the rate of interest, your amount, your liability will get increased, lower down by lesser amount. Whereas whenever you will decrease the discounting rate, now that impact will be higher. That is on account of the curve, the shape. Basically it is not a linear curve, it is something which is like what to say, um, not able to recall the name, the specific name. So basically what I am telling is, as per the concept of duration, the plus 1% and the minus 1% will not give us same impact, because that minus 1% will be on higher side. Basically that will impact a lot compared to the minus one. Any example you try to do with this approach, you guys will understand. Or I would request you, because I am also not able to recall whole of it, But just get back to the duration concept. See, when you say because duration also shows that if there will be this much point percentage change in the discounting rate or the what to say discounting rate only, yeah, yield or something, yeah. If there is 1% change in the yield, what will be the change in the price? That is what duration mentions, right? So that is what you guys will be seeing, that if you will be increasing the yield by 1% and if you'll be decreasing yield by -1%, there will be difference in the amount. Okay, that is on account of that the shape the duration curve takes. That is what the concept is, guys. Just look into this. I am also not able to recall the whole of it, but just for something came to my mind, I shared with you guys. Okay, so that is the concept basically. That is why we are saying this is not matching altogether. Moving further, now as I mentioned that the sensitivity analysis is something where you tweak only one parameter. So in the first instance, they just tweaked the discounting rate by +1. They have computed that there will be basically the liability will get decreased by this much of the amount, and then they have tweaked it downwards, and they have said your liability will get increased by this much. So if you guys see, they are doing it one parameter at a time. Okay, then they have tweaked the salary rate growth. Okay, so the salary rate growth, which was taken as 6% or 5%, they have increased by 1%. Obviously, if my salary rate growth is increasing, my liability will increase. That is what reflecting over here. Contrary to this, if my salary will be decreasing, growth rate will be decreasing, my liability will definitely decrease. Okay, similar to the change in the rate of employment is sorry, I miss turnover. Okay, it seems something related to turnover or what?
Yes, sir. It's turnover.
No, I don't think so, because if turnover will get increased, then obviously this should decrease ideally. Your liability should decrease. Okay, because people will start leaving early and obviously your liability will be lower. I'll have to see. I missed this part. Okay, this must be something. Sorry for this, guys. And similarly, if there's -1%, again we can see. So in all these scenarios, what I'm saying is the minus. Whenever you'll see the minus side, the amount is higher compared to the +1. That is something has some relation with the duration. That duration concept, the effective duration or the immaculate duration. You guys just read it out back and.
सर बढ़ेगी ना हमारी
Hmm?
अगर इम्प्लॉय टर्नओवर हमारा इंक्रीज होगा तो
Hmm.
लाइबिलिटी भी तो इंक्रीज होगी हमारी
लाइबिलिटी देखो, लाइबिलिटी इंक्रीज भी होगी, कम भी हो सकती है. ओके, द पॉइंट इज उसका एक assumption देखना पड़ेगा, या टर्नओवर ही है क्या, दैट आई हैव टू सी. बिकॉज when I say turnover, ठीक है, short term में my liability will be like I have to pay. The maturity analysis will get changed basically, Shan. Your liability won't be impacted a lot, because ultimately the more the people will serve, because you are the liability which you are seeing in your financial, it is not the current liability. It is something which is discounted. The future value of it is being discounted. If turnover is higher, obviously people will start leaving early, so your liability will be on the lower side. That will impact my maturity analysis. I'll have to see what particular word was mentioned over here. Sorry guys, sorry for this, but if possible, I'll share it in the Telegram group later on. Okay. Moving further, this is something they have written. The sensitivity analysis have been determined, reasonably possible changes, respective assumptions they are saying. Okay, and ±1% which they have done. So this is something which we can see in some companies' financials also. Then there are notes. Gratuity is payable as per the entity scheme as detailed in the report. Actuarial gains and losses are recognized in the period of occurrence under the OCI. Salary escalation and attrition rate are considered as advised by the entity. That is why I was saying that these parameters you have to check. Okay, the salary escalation as to previous year what was the escalation rate, current year what they have taken. This you have to assess. They appear to be in line with the industry practice. That is what they are saying. Okay. Maturity analysis of the benefit pays is undiscounted cash flow considering the future salary, attrition, and death in the respective years. Okay. Then we have expected average expected future service represents estimated term of post minus employment benefit obligation. Average expected future service is estimated term of post, okay, minus employment benefit obligation. Okay, so basically what they are saying कि total, say for example, इस term में इस particular post पे if I was supposed to be there for 3 years and my benefit obligation has already been completed for 2 years, so they have taken average years as 1 year. Okay, so that is what they are saying, that your employment with the company, say for example we are expecting 10 years, out of which employment benefit obligation has already been computed for 2 years. The net amount which we are 8 years is something which we are showing as the expected future service. Any benefit payment contribution to plan asset is considered on the occurrence at the end of the year. Okay, so they are assuming that this is happening at the end of the year. So that is why if you guys see, can you guys anyone tell me the impact of this line? Guys, please tell me what was the impact. This has something to do with those two tables at the top.
Interest income.
Hmm?
Interest cost and interest income.
Yeah. So what has happened? The interest cost and the interest income, when I asked you guys to verify it, I said opening balance multiply by the percentage. That is what I told you. So this is what they have assumed that whatever additions are happening, we have assumed that it is happening at the end of the year. That is why interest is not earned on that aspect. Similarly, whatever payment is being made, they have assumed that it was paid at the end of the year. That is why they have not deducted it while computing the interest income also. So that is what the implication of this line is. The value of the assets provided by the entity is not audited by us, and the same is considered as unaudited fair value of the plan assets. They are saying whatever value has come to us, we have not audited because obviously they are actuaries, so they don't audit. So that is what they have mentioned, just to make sure that the scope is limited to the actuarial valuation aspect only. In the absence of specific communication as regards contribution by the entity, expected contribution in the next year is considered as the sum net liability at the end of the current year. What they are saying? In the absence of specific communication as regards contribution by the entity, expected contribution in the next year, what they are saying कि expected net contribution is nothing. अगर employer हमको ये नहीं बता रहा है कि अगले साल हम कितना contribute करेंगे, what we have computed is sum of net liability asset at the end of the year and the current service cost for the next year subject to the maximum allowable contribution for the next as per the income tax rule. So they have said अगर company ने बता दिया तो ठीक है, otherwise we have computed like this. That is what the thing is. But this has no implication in your financials because this is something related to the next year. Now over here, there are some qualitative disclosure, the characteristic of the defined benefit plan. Why defined benefit plan is written over here? Why not defined contribution plan? Guys,
It, it is for the benefit of the employees.
no. Harsh, were you there in the last session? Though, were you there? Hmm?
I wasn't there. I wasn't
Okay.
there in the last one.
No issues. Even some people who have attended that, they must be knowing the first part of the previous session was not that good, and during that duration only I covered this aspect. So most of them were like, we are not able to understand. That was something was bad on my part. Okay, guys. So basically, the defined benefit plan is written because what happens is the company is basically is basically having the risk of the upward and the downward movement in the plan assets. So whatever will the financial position of the company needs to pay off the gratuity amount. That is why it is not defined contribution plan. Because defined contribution plan में क्या होता है? लो मेरा इस साल का पैसा लो, मेरी छुट्टी, अब फ्यूचर में क्या होगा मुझे कोई लेना देना नहीं है. जस्ट लाइक पीएफ. पीएफ में क्या होता है? एम्प्लॉयर अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन देता है. अब वो पीएफ का पैसा तुम्हें कितना मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, उसका पेंशन कितना मिलेगा नहीं, एम्प्लॉयर को कोई लेना देना नहीं है, उसका रिस्क कुछ भी नहीं है. सो एम्प्लॉय ने अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दिया, नाउ ही इज़ हैप्पी, नाउ ही इज़ रिलीज फ्रॉम दिस ऑब्लिगेशन. ठीक है, कल को पेंशन आपको ज़्यादा मिलेगा कम मिलेगा उसका उसमें कोई रोल नहीं है. दैट इज़ वाई दैट इज़ डिफाइंड कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन प्लान. वेयर इज इन डिफाइंड बेनिफिट प्लान you have to basically pay off the whole of amount and the risk is there because gratuity is something जो आप एम्प्लॉय जाएगा जब छोड़ के जाएगा तब पे करोगे एंड दैट इज डिपेंडेंट अपॉन मल्टीपल फैक्टर्स. सैलरी क्या रहेगा, नंबर ऑफ ईयर्स कितना सर्विस दे देगा. अब तुम सोच रहे थे 10 साल सर्विस करेगा, 15 साल कर दिया, ऑब्वियसली ग्रेचुटी वुड बी ऑन द हायर साइड. So that is what they are saying. The defined benefit plan is something where the risk lies with the employer. Okay guys, whereas defined contribution is something जहाँ पे पैसा दिया कंट्रीब्यूट किया नाउ छुट्टी. यहाँ पे क्या है, कंट्रीब्यूट कर भी दिया इन द प्लान एसेट्स. इट माइट हैपन कल को सारे के सारे लोग एक साल बाद सब छोड़ के चले जाए. ठीक है, मेरा प्लान एसेट्स में पैसा ही मेरे पास अभी पड़ा था बहुत लिमिटेड सा एंड ऑल ऑफ द सडन मेजर चंक ऑफ द पीपल हैव लेफ्ट. सो व्हाट आई विल डू, मेरे को कहीं ना कहीं से पैसा अरेंज करना पड़ेगा. सो द रिस्क लाइज विद द एम्प्लॉयर इन द defined benefit plan. Okay guys, so they are saying that the entity has a defined benefit gratuity plan in India. Entity defined benefit gratuity plan is a final salary plan for employees. Okay, the fund is managed by a trust which is governed by the board of trustees. So Harsh, this particular line answers your question regarding the transparency of it. The board of trustees are responsible for the administration of the plan assets and for defining the investment strategies. Where the amount has to be parked, this decision does not lie with the employer. This is something which the trustees has to decide. Okay, Harsh. So your whole risk related thing has basically been taken care of. Moving further,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Moving further, risk associated with the defined benefit plan. So what they are saying, gratuity is a defined benefit plan. An entity is exposed to the following risk. क्या क्या risk है? Interest rate risk. The fall in the discount rate, which is linked to GSEC. Obviously, जैसे discount rate कम होगा, your liability will be on the higher side. Rate will increase. The discounting rate, the moment it will decrease, a fall in this will increase the present value of the liability. Obviously we have seen जैसे discounting rate कम होगा liability बढ़ जाएगा. That is what they are saying. Salary risk, आपने सोचा था 5% हाइक दोगे, दे दिया ज़्यादा या ज़्यादा सैलरी हो गया, तो उस कारण आप लोगों का there is a risk. Investment risk, the money which you are putting into different investments, you are expecting that you will be earning 12%, 13%, but ultimately you got 8% only, so there's a risk. Asset liability matching risk, the plan assets ALM, asset liability mismatch risk, as to matching cash flow. What asset does it mean, asset liability matching risk? Anyone can help me with this? Hmm? Can anyone tell me what exactly this means? समझ में क्या आ रहा है after seeing this word asset liability mismatch?
Sir, maybe the investment is less, liability is great. Liability is larger than the investment of us.
No, Harsh, no issues. At least you tried. Anyone want to try?
तो इसका मतलब ये हो गया ना कि जो प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ लाइबिलिटी है और प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ एसेट्स उसमें कुछ मैच करना.
सेम चीज उसने बोला, हर्ष ने. देयर इज नो डिफरेंस द मोमेंट उसने भी लाइबिलिटी और एसेट बोला, यू जस्ट एडेड प्रेजेंट वैल्यू टू इट, सो देयर इज नो वैल्यूएशन टू दिस सेशन. Okay, how many of you have studied about the ILFS crisis? What exactly happened in ILFS? How many of you studied those news? That's a classic example on the asset liability mismatch. Okay, no issues, I'll tell you. So what happens in case of ILFS? What they did, they have invested into the assets which were long term assets, okay, where they were supposed to get the money back at the end of 20 years, 30 years, okay, whereas the money which they have bought from the markets was short term money, that is 5 years, 10 years. Now the issue was they'll be getting the money after 30 years, they have to pay back the loan after 5 years. There's a mismatch. Okay, this is what they are saying. Are you guys getting my point? There's a cash flow mismatch. पैसा आएगा ही नहीं, पैसा दोगे कहाँ से? Are you getting the point? पैसा आएगा 30 साल बाद, पैसा देना है 5 साल बाद या 10 साल बाद, कैसे दोगे? That is what the ALM risk has to mismatching cash flow. There's a mismatch in the cash flow. आएगा cash flow 30 साल बाद, जाना है 10 साल बाद, कहाँ से लाओगे पैसा? यही हुआ था ILFS के साथ. That is why it collapsed. The way, because उसका टोटली मिसमैच हो गया था. द वे दे हैव फंडेड द प्रोजेक्ट्स, जिस पैसे जहाँ जहाँ प्रोजेक्ट्स में पैसा डाला और जहाँ से पैसा उठाया, देयर वाज ह्यूज मिसमैच इन द लाइफ ऑफ दोज एस्पेक्ट्स. लाइफ जहाँ जहाँ से पैसा उठाया था, शॉर्ट टर्म उठाया था, जितना उनका डेट था 5-10 साल का था, और जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स किया था, बिकॉज दे इन्वेस्ट इन टू द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑप्शंस लाइक रोड्स एंड ऑल्सो. ऑब्वियसली वहाँ पे तो आपका कैश फ्लो ओवर द पीरियड आता है 10 साल, 20 साल, 30 साल. सो दैट इज द मिसमैच. That is what they are saying, because they are saying since the plan is invested in lines with the rules of 101 of the Income Tax Act, so accordingly there is no, generally reduces the risk of ALM. ठीक है, उसमें बता रखा है कि आपको कैसे कैसे कहाँ का इन्वेस्ट करना है. ओके, कितना कितना ड्यूरेशन वाले में. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए आपने सारा का सारा पैसा उठा के डाल दिया 30 इयर्स GSEC सिक्योरिटीज में, 20 इयर्स गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज में. अब भाई वो 20 इयर्स गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी बेचोगे कैसे? Are you getting the point? So there should not be a mismatch. Accordingly you have to take care of it also.
Sir,
Hmm.
sir, but how come this ये risk generate कैसे होता है? मतलब अगर कहीं भी invest करेंगे तो सब कुछ पूरा ground work करके invest करेंगे ना, like इधर invest करना, इधर से लेना, तो
एग्जैक्टली
how
हर्ष, वही
how
वही हर्ष, वही वो डिस्क्लोज कर रहा है कि वो एक्सरसाइज किया गया है. दैट दे हैव डन दिस एक्सरसाइज एज दे आर कंप्लाइंग विद रूल 101. ठीक है, दैट इज व्हाट ही इज सेइंग. ठीक है, हैड इट बीन द सिनेरियो उन लोगों ने ये चीज़ नहीं किया होता, अगर एक्चुअली को ये पता चलता कि उनकी जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है सारी लॉन्गर टर्म है, मान लो प्राइवेट इक्विटी फंड्स में डाल दिया पैसे, जहाँ पे पैसा बहुत सालों बाद आता है, या किसी कंपनी के प्राइवेट इक्विटी में डाल दिया, ऑब्वियसली प्राइवेट इक्विटी में कंपनी 5 साल तक तो आपका पैसा कुछ वापस ही नहीं करेगा। ओके, एटलीस्ट 20 ईयर्स तक, 10 ईयर्स तक, या एटलीस्ट 10 ईयर्स मिनिमम आपको पैसा तब जाके रिटर्न मिलेगा। ठीक है, बट आपका एम्प्लॉय तो मान लो 2 साल बाद छोड़ के चला गया, पैसा कहाँ से लाओगे? दैट इज व्हाट दे आर सेइंग। दैट इज व्हाट दे आर सेइंग कि ALM रिस्क इन्होंने रिड्यूस कर दिया बिकॉज दे आर putting their money as per the rule 101. You guys go and read this rule, what exactly it talks about, how it is reducing this risk. Are you getting the point, Harsh?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Anyone having any query, or should I move ahead? Okay, guys, great. Mortality risk is something basically someone since benefit are on the plan is not payable for the lifetime and payable till the retirement age only. Plan does not have longevity risk. Basically retirement है ये, sorry gratuity है. Gratuity जैसे ही बंदा छोड़ के जाता है तभी तक करना होता है, उसके बाद उसके till the age of आपका 60 या उसका लाइफ टाइम तक नहीं करना होता। तो ऑब्वियसली देयर इज नो रिस्क, जितना साल उसने सर्विस दिया है उतना ही करके आपका काम हो जाएगा, उतने तक आपका। हाँ, हैड इट बीन द पेंशन वाला फंड, ठीक है, इन दैट केस मोर्टेलिटी रिस्क विल बी देयर बिकॉज इन पेंशन, अब वो आदमी आप सोच रहे थे कि 50 साल में मरेगा, वो आदमी जी गया 70 साल तक, यू हैव टू मेक पेंशन पेमेंट अप टिल 70, ठीक है, तो दैट इज द रिस्क। बट इन केस ऑफ ग्रेचुटी देयर इज नो नथिंग लाइक दैट, मोर्टेलिटी से कोई लेना देना ही नहीं है यार, जितना साल सर्विस दोगे उतना साल का आपको पैसा मिलेगा। ओके, दैट इज व्हाई दे आर सेइंग देयर इज नो रिस्क। Concentration risk, this is again related to the investments. Now they are saying they have invested with the insurance company, so there is a is having concentration risk. So क्योंकि उन्हें सारा पैसा एक ही जगह डाला था, जो which we have seen. So and default will wipe out all the assets. कोई भी default हुआ insurance company से सारा का सारा पैसा उड़ जाएगा. That is what they are. Although probability of this is very low, as insurance company have to follow stringent regulation guidelines which mitigate the risk. Okay, but there's a risk of concentration also. Okay. Now they are saying characteristic of the defined benefit plan, link not copy derivate. A separate trust fund is created to manage the gratuity plan, and the contribution towards the fund is done as guided by the rule 103 of the income tax rule 1962. Okay, guys. So this was the whole scenario. Now tell me, anyone having any doubt before getting into the financials?
No, sir.
Okay. Now it's
No,
time to
sir.
answer Khushi's questions because she was a bit curious about the disclosure into the balance sheet and all. Guys, we are having 3 minutes in this link. Okay.
Sir,
What to do?
she has left a meeting.
Hmm?
She has left a meeting.
Oh, okay. Okay, no issues. We are recording, so she can view it later on. Okay, guys, let's connect in the other link, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys. Okay, great.